By the way, I'm doing a stream right now if you want to watch it. It's going to be my thoughts about the Cuomo thing.
I already know your thoughts on the Cuomo.
Oh, okay. Let me pull up chat. Okay. Hey, you all. So, I wanted to make this video about the Cuomo situation. I heard about the headline, but I didn't look too much into it until today. And I have a few thoughts about this, which I wanted to share with you guys. In case I feel, if I sound a little tired, it's because it's 12:52 a.m. While I have these ideas in my head, I did want to share it with you guys. And oh, hey Jim. So I'm gonna try and follow and get my thoughts out first, and then afterwards I'm gonna talk about chat because I have this really bad habit where I read chat and then I answer your questions and then I get a little off track and then it turns into a 3-hour video. Nah, I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is what happened. So there's been hold up a second. There has been 3 women who came forward and said that Andrew Cuomo has made unwanted advances towards them. And I have the link in the description below. So the first woman, her name is, her name is Charlotte Bennett, 25-year-old former aide, and he had asked her personal questions. This video is probably going to most likely be demonetized. So I hope that it doesn't get pulled because I am going to be showing you the video, giving you my thoughts about this. And just because you guys can see where I'm trying to, specific points that I'm talking about. And he had asked her some inappropriate questions about having relations with older men. And yeah, so she transferred out. That's the first one. And then the second aide, she's running for some sort of office, I remember correctly. So she said that he had touched her, he had touched her on her lower backs and arms, and her boss told her that Mr. Cuomo was attracted to her, and then he also allegedly said that they should play strip poker, and then in 2018 he gave her an unsolicited kiss after a one-on-one meeting. So kissed her on the lips. My thoughts is ah, my goodness. I don't know how he was gauging this. To say you're playing, you want to play strip poker with someone and this is someone that you work with. It's weird, it's strange because unless she was giving out clear signals, I'm not understanding why he would be like, yeah, we should play strip poker, or unless he kind of thinks that she's a playful woman. Maybe then I can understand why he would just like jokingly, lightheartedly say this kind of stuff. But of course it's inappropriate based on his position. So so she's running for Manhattan Borough President. And she, if I remember correctly, these allegations only came out when she decided to run. So the timing really wasn't the greatest. Some people could say that, oh, it's just, she just wants to smear him. And last one is this woman. She attended a wedding, and he placed his hands on her cheeks, and then he asked if he could kiss her. She said she was embarrassed. And if you look at the picture, this looks awkward as hell. You see this picture over here? Like, I don't know. To me, he looks drunk. She looks like, she's like, are you for real? Like, what the hell's going on? It's just, like, I cringe looking at that picture. But I think because you can see alcohol behind them, I think that he was just getting a little too playful. He doesn't know her, it seems. Like, he doesn't know her. He just did this thing, and maybe he just kind of thinks, oh, no big deal. Or maybe he's a little too comfortable with situations. Who knows? So yeah, so then people wanted him to resign. He apologized and he said that, he was just making playful jokes, being good natured way. And then he also said this, look, I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it. I feel awful about it and frankly embarrassed by it. That's not easy to say, but that's the truth. And then he also adds that he didn't touch anyone inappropriately. I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. I certainly never meant to offend anyone or hurt anyone or cause anyone any pain. This is the last thing I would ever do. And regarding that kiss and that hug, that's how he says he greets people. And then yeah, so if you look at this, the wedding thing, right? I'm like, just kind of strange. Maybe, maybe it's just, I don't know. It's very cringy. I really think the guy was drunk. I really think so. I mean, like, who would, like, I don't know any person who would cup someone's face in their hands like that. Seriously, like, I've never seen that kind of thing. It's just, and he obviously is unable to pick up on her facial expression. Like, this guy looks drunk. To me, he looks very drunk, and it's an awkward moment for sure. But that's probably, like, he probably doesn't remember it either, to be very honest. So now the attorney general's investigating, and they do want him to resign. But what I wanted to show you was this extended interview. So you remember the first woman that I was talking about? She worked with him, and then he asked her all these inappropriate questions about being with older men. This is going to be the full interview. It is 17 minutes long. In case you guys see me pause a little bit, I'm going to be doing it for two reasons. A, to give you my thoughts about it, and B, so the what thing doesn't really hit it too hard. Because I'm afraid that if I show this for too long of a period of time, what's going to happen is that this stream is going to get pulled. And I don't want that. I think you guys remember there's this one video that I played. It was a theme song, and my video got pulled, and I was really sad about that. So in the event that this thing gets muted around, or you can't hear what I'm saying, you can watch this. The link is going to be in the description. So this happened, I believe, earlier last year.
So why did you get into public service?
Well, the incidences, that is. This is a recent interview.
I learned in college that we use our power for good, that we engage in society to make it better, and I saw an opportunity in public service to better New York.
Okay, so we know that she comes off as a very driven woman.
I saw the job as an opportunity to give back to a place that was the foundation of my life. This was a dream.
So this was not a person who wanted, it sounded like, mess around on this job. It was more like they thought they could possibly change the role for the better. At least based on her statement.
Job. Yeah. What was the job like? I understood it was going to be tough, that Albany was tough. But when I got there, I realized it was more than that. It was extremely toxic. People would work for a few days before quitting. What was it
Okay, what made it so toxic? I'm curious.
like working with him initially? He was interested in getting to know me. I think he wanted to see what I was about. I think.
Okay, so when anybody first meets someone, right, whether it be supervisor position or a new employee, of course you want to know, what kind of person is this? This person, I believe, was his executive assistant, so kind of like his right hand person. One of the right hand person, right? Really, right hand person would be chief of staff, if I remember correctly. So he probably was like, oh well, let's figure out what she's about. Let's see why she signed up for this job. Pretty harmless stuff so far.
A lot of it for him is being able to trust his inner circle, and also decide whether or not someone like me could withstand that.
Let's start with January 2020. That month you had a 2-hour long conversation with him. What was that like?
It was the first time I was really alone with him, like out of the office, staffers aren't around. It
So January 2020, keep the date in mind, okay?
was the first candid conversation I'd ever had with him, and I was actually really impressed by him. He's sitting in his pool house reviewing PowerPoint slides. CNN is on, and he seems a bit disengaged with his work, and he's a bit of a gossip, so he's, asking me, like, tell me something. Like, I don't really have any gossip or anything to share.
He's probably doing this because he has his mindset on work, right? So he wants to just keep it lighthearted, or like, tell me what's going on, or tell me some interesting things. So that way it just doesn't turn into a whole work situation. And the only reason why I bring this up is because I've known, I've interacted with several guys in the past, several males, and they might have some really serious positions, very well respected people, and they don't want to just have a person just talk to them about work, during working hours. They want to chit chat, they want to know what's going on, and it just kind of breaks it up.
And tell me something. So I say, in 2015, you signed Enough is Enough, and it changed my life. And he put down his pen and pushed his PowerPoint to the side and wanted to know more. So I explained, what is still very dear to me, which is the activism that I engaged in at Hamilton College to improve the Title IX policy, stand up for survivors, and really change the environment on campus, which, at that point it was toxic as well. And we engaged in a longer conversation about sexual violence.
So January 2020, they were talking about conversations about sexual violence, and I'm assuming how they want to have that go away, or make sure that doesn't happen, or protect victims.
He asked some really personal questions, and it was pretty emotional, and he explained to me that it was very near and dear to his heart. And, he was even teary at that point, explaining, like, how important it is that women feel safe. And I remember him at this point saying, like, I don't know if you should engage in this work professionally. I think, taking the pain that you experienced and using that as the foundation for your career will be a mistake. And he also said that people in positions of power will never give up that power. So I will always be on the wrong side.
So here's the thing that I'm not really understanding here. People of positions of power will never want to give up their power, and she will always be on the wrong side. So I'm not too sure if the conversation was something along the lines of, if she wanted to, let's say, crack down hard, or make laws, or enact new laws, or try to push for new laws for sexual for victims of sexual assault or sexual violence, if she might get her heart broken if she takes it on a personal level, and then if her bills or what she proposes gets shot down. That maybe that's what he's alluding to. I'm not too sure. You guys can definitely clarify for me what you think that statement was about. Definitely open to hearing about it, because I watched this about 3 times and I'm still kind of scratching my head.
At that point, you viewed him as a mentor, correct?
Correct.
Then it says their professional relationship took a turn on May 15th, when she alleges the governor started asking about her love life and became fixated, repeating over and over again her history as a sexual assault survivor.
So May 15th now.
So he goes, you were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted.
So May 15th.
Okay, I don't get it. What is the context of that? Like, nobody just has a random conversation and just announces randomly, like, you were you were assaulted, right? There has to be a reason why he's saying that. Is it because she's sharing some information and maybe he's interpreting it like maybe he thinks that she should be a little bit more harder on her stance about certain things, and that's why he's just saying, you shouldn't think that you were raped or something like that. I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. And they don't share what the context was.
15th. You haven't seen the governor in months because of the pandemic. You go in very early in the morning to deliver the briefing book, and he's very chatty.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks you what you're doing that day. And so you tell him you're giving a speech at Hamilton about your own experience as a sexual assault survivor.
So again, it's very clear that he already knows that she's a sexual assault survivor. They've had several conversations about it. He hasn't seen her all the time. It seems like he's only seen her a few times, but I'm sure he recognizes her, right?
You say he was fixated on that.
Yeah. Yeah. The repetition was scary. The eye contact was scary. And I understood that it was not to be supportive. No person supporting a survivor would speak like that to them.
What was being said? Let's go back. Because he heard that she was making a talk. Is that the reason why he was trying to stress that, you were raped, you were assaulted? Does he want her to speak? Does he want her to, I guess, like, really stress the point or, share what she wants to, does he want her to, like, further communicate what she wants to share to an audience or something like that? Crap.
Why do you think he was...
Understood that it was not to be supportive.
Let's go back.
You say he was fixated on that. Go in very early in the morning to deliver the briefing book, and he's very chatty.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks you what you're doing that day. And so you tell him you're giving a speech at Hamilton about your own experience as a sexual assault survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You say he was fixated on that.
Maybe it's because he thought this was going to be a big speech and he already knew the back history. Just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. The repetition was scary. The eye contact was scary. And I understood that it was not to be supportive. No person supporting a survivor would speak like that to them.
Why do you think he was fixated on you as a survivor of sexual assault?
I think it's really strategic.
What?
I think abusers look for vulnerabilities, previous traumas, the idea that maybe I'm more willing to accept behavior because I have a history of sexual violence.
Okay, this is the part that confuses me, okay? So she's going to give a talk. And he's really serious about it. He's asking her, he's telling her things that doesn't seem to be supportive. She doesn't say what it is. And then she goes and says, she basically insinuates that he is being manipulative, or he's trying to be very strategic. And maybe I'm just missing something here, but I kind of see it as like maybe, if you're not going to say what exactly he said that doesn't sound supportive, it almost sounds like he just didn't want her to mess up on this kind of thing. Or maybe he just wanted to drive it home like, hey, this is going to be a big speech for you. Make sure you talk about these and these and these points. And that way people's eyes don't glaze over. Because Cuomo has given a whole bunch of speeches, right? So maybe he just, and according to what she had said earlier, he seems that he's very... he cares a lot about victims of sexual violence or sexual assault, and it's near to dear in his heart because she said, like, when they were talking about this conversation right back in January, right now it's May, but back in January, like, he had tears in his eyes. So maybe, without knowing what was being said, it's like I kind of want to give the guy a benefit of a doubt right here. I don't think it was like he was trying to be predatory.
How'd you go work with him?
No, I'm just saying, like, she's not saying what he said. She's just making these, like, statements right now, right? Based on, because she hasn't said anything happened up until this point. It's just like, she told him she was gonna be making a speech, and then she's saying the stuff.
Perhaps I'm not as confident in myself because
Let's go back.
there's, and I understood that it was not to be supportive. No person supporting a survivor would speak like that to them.
What was it the whole you were raped, you were assaulted thing? Like, he has to be saying that for a reason. Maybe she went into detail, or maybe she kind of glossed over how she was going to say it, and he's trying to stress over, like, you need to stress that this happened to you, or something like that. Who knows?
Why do you think he was fixated on you as a survivor of sexual assault?
I think it's really strategic. I think abusers.
So this is where I don't like the whole abuser thing coming out from here, because it sounds like all he did was just talk about her speech.
Look for vulnerabilities, previous traumas, the idea that maybe I'm more willing to accept behavior because I have a history of sexual violence. Perhaps I'm not as confident in myself because of my history.
You think he knew that?
Yeah.
You think he was grooming you?
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing. Like, I'm like I said, maybe I'm missing something in between, but how can you? I'm just not.
You'd been working with the governor for several months at that point. Why do you think he got more personal?
The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us, and he was on TV nearly every day talking about it. He asked why people weren't watching his press conferences and that he was losing viewers. And
Well, yeah, he wants people to watch his press conferences, right?
I really think that he had this 15 minutes of international, national attention, and that was starting to wane. And he was lonely, he was anxious, he was angry, and really isolated.
He was asking you about the viewership of people watching his
Crap,
press
hold on.
conferences.
My computer's freezing.
Yes.
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely. I think he felt like he was untouchable in a lot of ways.
When were you with him alone again, one-on-one?
The next time I was alone with the governor was June 5th.
Bennett says she was called into Cuomo's office to take dictation, and he told her to turn off the tape recorder.
And then he explains
Damn it! Hold
at
on.
that point
I want
that
to pause
he
this.
is looking for a girlfriend.
You've just finished dictation.
Okay. So it looks like my computer's freezing, so I have to close some tabs. I know. You know what? I mean, like, it's hard for me to run OBS and then watch this stuff too at the same time, because my computer just goes on, like, the whole craziness over here. So I'm going to close some tabs for you guys.
Maybe you should get rid of this MacBook and get a
No, I
ThinkPad.
just need to get a newer one. This is a 2015.
You know, when
I'm trying to run
ARKK hits
OBS.
92, I'll get you another MacBook. Remember our bet?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Why do we set up a bet that works
Okay.
inversely?
Okay, so let me go back.
I get you a MacBook. ThinkPad, it says a MacBook on it.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go back.
I think
I'm so sorry, you guys.
I'm not as confident in myself because of my history.
You think he knew that?
Yeah.
You think he was grooming you?
Yeah.
You'd been working with the governor for several months at that point. Why do you think he got more personal?
The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us, and he was
Hold on. Let me try and close more windows, you guys. Cause this is not sitting well. Okay. I actually don't have that many windows open. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, I don't have that much windows. No, max freeze after you get OBS on this thing. Cause I'm trying to run it on here and it's like a little heavy.
Get it like that.
Okay. Okay, now let's go back. Let me make this a little smaller here. Technical difficulties, just a little, you guys. Okay.
on TV nearly every day talking about it. He asked why people weren't watching his press conferences and that he was losing viewers.
Innocent question. I mean, innocent concern.
You know, I really think that he had this 15 minutes of international, national attention, and that was starting to wane. And he was lonely, he was anxious, he was angry, and really isolated.
He was asking you about the viewership of
How
people
does
watching his press conferences?
Yes.
he probably just wanted like, hey, can you give me an idea why people aren't watching? Like, why do you think people in your life aren't watching my press conferences? Because New Yorkers aren't tuning in. I'll tell you why I didn't watch it, because after a while I thought, geez, this thing looks freaking long. I'm just gonna wait till it shows up on the news and get the condensed version of it.
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely.
Embolden him. Oh, that's a very strong statement to say. Because right now it seems like all he's doing is just asking, "Hey, well, why do you think people aren't watching my press conferences?"
I think he felt like he was untouchable in a lot of ways.
When were you with him alone again, one-on-one?
The next time I was alone with the governor was June 5th.
Bennett says she would.
So she doesn't see him alone all the time. It doesn't seem like he's texting her or calling her up. It's just he sees her once every couple months alone.
Was called into Cuomo's office to take dictation, and he told her to turn off the tape recorder.
And then he explains at that point that he is looking for a girlfriend.
Okay, this is kind of weird, but maybe
Just finished dictation, and the governor is telling you he's lonely and looking for a relationship.
Yes. He asked if I had trouble enjoying being with someone because of my trauma.
that is such a weird thing. I don't know if it's like, oh my goodness, like that's a weird thing, because it's like if you're giving a statement and then you tell the person who's recording it, like, yeah, stop recording. Oh, I'm lonely. Oh, I want a girlfriend. Oh, do you have a hard time with relations? Something like that.
Seems highly inappropriate.
It's so weird, like, it's such weird timing to be mentioning this kind of stuff. Like, there has to be some sort of flow in it.
Asked if I had trouble enjoying being with someone.
So he's saying he's lonely. He's looking for a girlfriend, and then he follows up with, do you have trouble being with someone because of what happened in your, with your sexual assault or your what happened with her sexually.
because of my trauma.
Seems highly
So the focus went on from him over to her.
inappropriate.
Yeah. The governor asked me if I was sensitive to intimacy.
In
That's so weird to just be randomly talking about
his
stuff.
office,
Yes. During the workday.
you have been quoted as saying that he also asked you about if you'd ever been with an older man.
Yeah. He asked me if age difference mattered. He also explained that he was fine with anyone over 22.
How do you have that conversation? Oh, yeah, stop the tape. Oh, I'm really lonely. I'm looking for a girlfriend. Oh, by the way, is it hard for you to be in enjoy your relationship because you've been raped? Oh, and by the way, I'm looking for a girlfriend who's over 20. Like the flow of things is just really bizarre to me. It almost seems like I feel like he would only mention this kind of stuff if he either felt very comfortable around her or he was having some sort of, I guess, break in assessing the situation. I mean, like, it's to say this kind of stuff, like he's looking for a girlfriend. Oh, I'm looking for a girlfriend who's over the age of 22 to a person who is an aide, right? Who is an assistant. And she's 25, and then also bring up the whole, the drama that happened to her before, in the same paragraph or in the same flow of thought. It's very insensitive, or it's very I don't know. It's like I can't imagine anyone bringing up that kind of stuff altogether.
And how old are you?
25.
How did you respond to those questions?
I responded honestly. And when I was even thinking of coming forward, I think that was where I held the most shame. And that, like, I really was uncomfortable and understood that my boss was asking these questions, so I was trying to answer them.
Why did you feel shame?
I feel like people put the onus on the woman to shut that conversation down. And by answering, I was somehow engaging in that or enabling it, when in fact I was just terrified.
People will watch this and say, why didn't you get up and leave?
It didn't feel like I had a choice.
He's your boss.
He's my boss. He's everyone's boss. As far as I was concerned, he's the boss of the state. He's the most powerful person I've ever really had a relationship with.
So it sounds like he was just talking aloud. Like he didn't say like, I find you very attractive. I would love to date you or something like that. It's like, it just sounds like to me that he was just feeling like he had this moment that he just forgot his filter, and he said, "Oh, I'm lonely. I want a person. I want a girlfriend, and as long as she's over 22, I would like that." And I don't know. I don't understand why he would bring up the whole thing is like hard for her to be in a relationship after what happened. I mean, like, yeah, you could say that it's because he's directly alluding that he wants a relationship with her, but I don't know. It's like, it's very strange that for someone who's supposedly very mindful, or who cares a lot about women who have been victims of rape or sexual assault, like, that's, you don't put those two together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't be like, yeah, I want a girlfriend, someone like you, but I just want to but I want to know, could you do a relationship after what happened to you? It's like it's very bad timing, or it's just weird.
He wasn't just powerful to me, he was like all powerful.
He told you he was lonely. In what context?
He wanted a girlfriend. When he said he was lonely, I mentioned that his daughters had been around, and he also rejected that and said, yeah,
What do you mean your daughters were? Oh, like, oh, you're lonely, just talk to your daughters.
love my daughters, but I want a girlfriend.
Why do you think he was asking you these questions?
I think he was gauging my interest. I think he was trying to see what my response was generally. I think he was grooming me.
What were you thinking as he's asking you these questions?
This is strange.
I thought he's trying to sleep with me. The governor's trying to sleep with me. And I'm deeply uncomfortable. And I have to get out of this room as soon as possible.
If this was Cuomo's intention, and it seems like that could be the intention, right? This is a piss poor way of doing it. Like, yeah, I'm lonely, I want a girlfriend, and then you bring up trauma that happened to the woman that he is allegedly propositioning. Like, I don't know, it's really stupid to bring it up like that.
And to be clear, what made you think that he was trying to sleep with you?
Without explicitly saying it, he implied to me that I was old enough for him and he was lonely.
Governor Cuomo said...
But she didn't explicitly say that he was interested in her. He just said he's looking for a chick over 22.
...said in a statement on Sunday that he was just being playful.
No.
He says he was joking.
I wasn't laughing. And he wasn't laughing.
Governor Cuomo said in a statement that what he said may have, quote, been misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation. Did you misinterpret him?
No. I understood him loud and clear. It just didn't go the way he planned.
Governor Cuomo said that he has never propositioned anybody. Do you believe that he was propositioning you?
Yes.
For what?
Sex.
Did you watch Governor Cuomo's apology?
I did. It's not an apology.
Okay, now here's the part that kind of ticked me off a little. Maybe you guys will think I'm being a little too sensitive about this, but I was just like, really? Listen to this.
The fact is that he was sexually harassing me, and he has not apologized for sexually harassing me. And he can't even use my name. An apology sounds like, Charlotte Bennett, I am sorry for sexually harassing you. It was inappropriate and wrong.
As you left work...
Is there something that I'm missing? He didn't say something like, man, your legs look great or something like that. It just sounded like he, if I'm remembering or recalling this correctly, it sounded like he was just saying, I'm lonely, I'm looking for a girlfriend, yeah, I want a chick who is over the age of 22. It doesn't seem like it was a direct sexual harassment to me.
Work on June 5th. What were you thinking?
I was trying not to cry. I assumed that I could no longer work for him.
I gotta get out of this job.
I'm not doing that again. I'm not engaging in that conversation or any other conversation. I'm not putting myself in a position where he physically comes on to me. It stops here. That's it.
But then you get called back into the office the next day, Saturday, June 6th, and you've never talked about this before.
No.
Bennett says at one point on that Saturday, she was the only employee working with the governor in his private office.
I was terrified. I was shaking. I thought any moment something can happen, and I have no power here.
And what happens when you're with the governor?
He asked me a few questions about how to use his iPhone, and then sends me back to wait. And then finally he calls me in and he asks if I found him a girlfriend yet.
He asks you again?
Yes. And I say, not yet. He said I was working on it.
Looking back on
So, I don't know what her tone of voice is, but if he's like, I'm working on it, it almost sounds like maybe he could have seen that as being playful. He was like, oh, did you find me a girlfriend yet? And she says like, I'm working on it, that kind of stuff. It's just like banter.
all of this, how would you describe Governor Cuomo?
He is a textbook abuser.
What? How did he turn to a textbook abuser? Maybe I'm missing something here, but I'm not seeing it.
He lets his temper and his anger rule the office, but he was very sweet to me for a year in the hopes that maybe one day when he came on to me, I would think we were friends, or that it was appropriate, or that it was okay. I think his behavior is generally manipulative.
Why didn't you go to HR?
That just was not an option for me.
Or maybe he was just having a temper at people who pissed him off, and because that was his direct aid, he thought like, hey, let me try to get along with her, or let me just have some banter with her, and that way it just doesn't work. That could also be the other thing too, right?
Because I don't see any power in, feels like someone cutting off my limb and giving me a Band-Aid. That's what HR sounded like to me.
You instead met with the governor's chief of staff, right?
Yes.
What happened during that meeting?
I sat down and pretty quickly just said, I love working here, I love you guys, but the governor crossed a line with me last week and I can no longer serve in this position. And she asked me what I was referring to, and I said, he said he was lonely, he said he wanted a girlfriend. He asked me if I had slept with older men. He said he was willing to sleep with younger women. And at that point, that was enough for her. And she was just like, what can we do here?
Did she seem surprised by what you told her?
She seemed surprised, but looking back, I think it would have been a longer conversation had it been really shocking to her.
2 days.
You can't assess someone's shock. They don't want to go into explicit details. Now, I didn't see in this interview when exactly he said, "Oh, have you ever slept with older men?" Or maybe I just missed it.
Days later, she says she was transferred to a new job away from the governor.
It felt to me like if I got a new job, we didn't have to investigate this. And I really did not want it to be investigated. I was terrified.
You were happy with the deal.
Yeah.
Did you tell the governor's counsel and his chief of staff who was there everything that you've told us today?
Yes. And more.
Did Governor Cuomo's
What's the more? Why don't you tell what the more is?
lawyer or his chief of staff ever investigate the allegations?
Not that I know of, no.
Were you concerned that your allegations would get back to Governor Cuomo?
I was terrified. And I was scared to betray his
Wait, how do you think this stuff is not going to go back to Governor Cuomo if you're telling his chief of staff? Right? His chief of staff would tell him, I'm assuming.
trust. I was embarrassed, and I thought that if he knew I was
He already knew if you told his chief of staff, in my opinion.
telling his chief of staff what he had said, that I would get in trouble.
Why did you ultimately leave the administration?
I couldn't handle it. I thought not working directly with him, I thought if I could step away just even a little bit, I would be fine and I wouldn't have to give up all that I had worked for. But I was still working in the executive chamber. I was still working for him. And everyone around me is still concerned with him, still talking about him. The orbit, it's still Andrew Cuomo.
How do you respond to viewers who may doubt your story?
It's hard enough sharing this story when it's true. I can't imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies. I don't know who would do that. I couldn't make this up. And also, I loved my job. Like, I really looked up to him. I looked up to the governor. He was my mentor.
I don't know. There's something so insincere about this part. Listen to that again.
What do you think should happen to Andrew Cuomo?
I think he should start telling the truth. When it's true, I can't imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies. I don't know who would do that. I couldn't make this up. And also,
This part right here.
I loved my job. Like, I really looked up to him. I looked up to the governor. He was my mentor.
I don't know. That doesn't seem believable to me, that last part. I mean,
What do you think should happen to Andrew Cuomo?
I think he should start telling the truth. And I'm really confident in this investigation. But if this investigation finds that he has conducted himself this way, which he absolutely has, because I have contemporaneous evidence, he should step down. New York deserves a governor who treats people with respect, who does not harass or discriminate,
And that
maybe I'm not picking it up, but where did he discriminate it?
his career should be over.
I think, people like this can rehabilitate. I believe that.
Rehabilitate, keyword.
I think it takes a lot of time. I think it takes some therapy. Doing the work, doing the emotional work to get to a place where you understand why you engaged in those behaviors and have an ability to be a new and better person. And I think that takes a lot of time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go and give my 2 cents over here. So I have interacted with males that were in higher positions than me, much bigger positions than me, and yeah, there were times that they would make this kind of talk. And the thing is like, some of them, they were kind of flirty, and it's just like, I didn't take it too seriously, that kind of stuff. Like, I actually, like, here's the thing, like, I've known guys that they were single, and they would ask questions, and it's just like, it's like, I don't hold it on that regard. It's just like, okay, it's a single guy. Yeah, he might be, he might have like a much higher position. Oh, people might know who this person, people might see like this person is a very powerful figure. But it's not like I would be like, oh, this person is a abuser and this person is strategic. And I just see it as talk. So, when I was listening to this thing, like, oh, have you ever been with the older guy? I want to be with the girl who is like over 22. It's like, yeah, that's inappropriate. But I don't think it's that bad. And I think that when Governor Cuomo was saying this, it's like he was just saying these private thoughts, and maybe he was hitting on her. I won't doubt if he was hitting on her. But there was this whole idea that whatever he's saying would be in confidence. It would not be like blasted all over. So I think that I didn't hear anything about her saying like, oh yeah, I told him that yeah, I feel uncomfortable with this kind of conversation. And I know people would give me crap about it and be like, oh, Erica, how can you tell her that she should have told him to stop? I'm thinking that maybe she made like little remarks, like, the remark that, oh, did you find me a girlfriend? Oh, I'm working on it. He could have taken that as like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to have this little friendly, flirty banter sort of thing. I don't see any indication that he texted her. He tried to ask her on a date. He was, sending her any pictures or anything like that. It just sounded like some workplace flirting. And for him, to be 63 years old, hitting on a 25-year-old aide, it's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie about that. I would think that in the future, for sure, a guy like this has to use a lot of discretion. If I was a guy, if I was a politician, I know this is gonna sound terrible, but I would not have any female aides with me alone. 100%. I would only have mostly male aides if I was a guy, because I would not want there to be any whisperings about like misconduct, or a joke that seriously affected someone, to the point where it's like if you say something like, oh yeah, I like if I was a guy, right, and I said something like, oh yeah, I think that have you seen so and so celebrity? I think she's gorgeous, or something like that. Like someone could be like, "Oh yeah, it makes me feel uncomfortable to hear him talk about so and so celebrity, and she's around the same age as me." And it's just like, yeah, I can understand why some people like having some people just have that kind of not so serious conversation, and they have this like flirty banter. Again, I've been in that situation, and I didn't, obviously it's like I see it, and it's like you either grow with the punches, or you just shut it down. And yeah, but the discretion thing really is a big thing for Cuomo, for Andrew Cuomo, for Governor Cuomo. He needs to make sure if he's in office, like he cannot have this happen again. 100%. If you have any female aide with you, do not be with them alone, because this kind of stuff can happen. And once it leaks out, it can potentially ruin your political career. And when she was saying earlier, he wanted to make sure that he could trust her and things like that. Like, I guarantee you, he wouldn't have not wanted this to leak out. And it is very dangerous for a person with like a certain position, if they're well known, if they're in government, to have this kind of thing tarnish their name. And I like I said, I think that how he handled this situation was not right. I also think, though, that he miscalculated. Maybe he was being flirty with her. Maybe he just wanted to, talk about, like, yeah, like the whole gossip thing. He's just like, yeah, I want a girlfriend. Oh, I'm so lonely. Yeah, I want a girlfriend who's, as long as she's over 22, that works. So maybe he's trying to be like, oh, yeah, do you have any, hook me up with someone, because I'm single. And she takes it very offensively, right? But then I know he also asked her about the older men thing. He could be doing it to gauge her, or he could just be wondering, hey, would a woman who's 25 be interested in possibly a 63-year-old guy? It doesn't mean necessarily that he's trying to get with her in that regard. Like I said, he never sent her any text message that I'm seeing. Never said like, hey, let's go on a dinner date. Let's go, meet up. Let's go further than this. I didn't see any of that. I just see it as like office place flirting. But because this woman, she's had that kind of trauma happen to her in the past, it's like I think she's very quick to call him an abuser and say all these things about him. But I don't see it on that level. I truly do not see it on that level. I think it's just flirting. So yeah. Anyway, that is all that I want to say about this thing. Definitely, he didn't, he didn't feel the situation right, and it caught up with him. I don't know how he was with other aides, right? I'm sure this wasn't his first female aide, but I'm sure they used discretion. And again, like I said, if you are working with a person who is very powerful, a person who is a public figure, and you hear these kind of things, and they're a pretty private person, right? Like a politician. You do not want to be the person who, you don't want to be that person who makes like a big, I shouldn't say it this way, but I'm gonna say it, like a mountain out of a possible molehill, because I really do see this as flirting. And as a person who has been in this kind of situation several times, it's like I would just be like, oh gosh, I actually feel kind of bad, because this could happen to anybody, right? Let's say if you're a male, you have a female employee, and then you just make some like off remarks, right? And let's say you're significantly older, and be like, yeah, I'm lonely. I want a girlfriend. Hey, you think any women who are around their 20s would be interested in me, huh? And then that kind of stuff. And let's say the woman that you're asking is 25 or so, 26, 27, right? And it's just like, just want to know, you know. And maybe she could see it and be like, oh, he's a terrible person. He's trying to groom me. He's trying to get into my pants. Maybe, maybe not. So, anyway, I'm going to read chats. Let me know in the comment section. I expect to hear a few angry people saying, like, maybe I'm, maybe I'm just, dismissing a woman like this. But again, I have been in this situation several times in my life. And, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, yeah, they're flirty, or they'll make little comments, or they ask you like, oh, so, are you, if they're single, right, they'll ask you things like, oh, so, I haven't heard about that guy, are you still with him? Like, yeah, you could think of that as like, oh, maybe they're trying to get into my pants, or maybe they're just being gossipy. Right? And it's not, it's like, I don't see any real lines being crossed here with this woman. I just see it like he was just being flirty. And for her to say things like, oh, you need to apologize for sexually harassing me, I'm like, oh, oh gosh. I just see it as like, she's being I hate to dismiss it like this, but I think she's being a little too serious about this, because I really think he was just playing around. Okay, so let me read this. Yeah, I heard about the reporter telling everybody should get an essential job. Yeah, I read that too. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like Cuomo, I'm not a big fan of him. I'm just saying the situation from what I'm interpreting based on this interview, based on what I read, and I just like, I kind of think like, it makes it sound like a really bad thing that he did, but I really just think he was kind of joking. I don't see it like he groped her, or he sent her pictures that she didn't want, or something like that. It just sounded like he was being flirty. He just wanted to break up the office talk, and have a little flirty day. Like, it's like, you can even see like a lot of the times that she was saying she was interacting with him, it was a couple months apart. So it's not like he's calling into her office specifically like, I want to see you alone in my office. It just so happens. I don't know. Like, he didn't have to say that. He said, implying that he wanted to sleep with her. Not exactly, Alex, because I could say something like, "Oh, yeah, you could tell a guy, like for instance, right? Let's say if I told a guy, like, I was just casually talking to a guy, right? And I said, oh, yeah, I find guys that are in their early 20s attractive. And let's say the guy is 24. That doesn't mean that I want to sleep with the guy. It just means that I find guys who are in their early 20s attractive, right? So that's the same thing that I'm using for this. It doesn't mean that if he says that he finds a woman who over 22 attractive, right? As long as they're over 22, he finds them attractive. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's trying to say, like, I find you attractive. I didn't hear anything about him complimenting her, like, man, you are so beautiful. You have a great body. Or I would love to date a woman like you. I didn't hear any of that. I just heard, I like to date a woman who's over 22. Nothing personalized. I didn't hear him mention any compliments towards her. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I couldn't understand, like, the way that, like, the conversation was going. Like, why, if you're interested in a person, why would you bring up things like, you tell them you're single, you're lonely, and then mention, oh, do you have a hard time, um, being in a relationship with the person because of the fact that you were raped? Like, what kind of pickup line is that? Like, that's a freaking that it really isn't a pickup line. I really think he was kind of thinking aloud. I think he was just thinking like, yeah, I wouldn't mind dating a woman, as long as she's over 22, and that's it. I didn't hear anything about him asking her for pictures, him complimenting her. It just seems like he was just trying to be flirty, but maybe obviously backfired. Yeah, so I shouldn't say this, but I kind of think like part of it is just like she, like, when I hear about what he did and the way she's phrasing it, it almost sounds like she's making this into like a big thing, and I'm like, I think he was just being flirty about it. I don't think it was that. I know people are gonna give me a lot of crap about it, but I just don't see it to warrant, like, you need to personally apologize to me on national TV for sexually harassing me by saying that, by saying that you like women who are older than 22, and then asking me if I would date an older guy. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about what's going on here. I do think that there definitely is people coming forward. Now, um, now the other woman that, oh my goodness, I don't know, I can't pull it up. But there were three women, right? One woman you guys saw the cringy picture of, like, that one was totally terrible. Like, what he did was just cringeworthy. He definitely crossed the line, but I really do think the guy was drunk on that third one. So he crossed the boundary. It's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy. But it wasn't. I don't see like he did it as like, I'm the governor, I can get away with everything, because even if you are the governor, you would have this, you know that you have cameras all around you, right? You have to be on guard about how you act in public. And in my opinion, Governor Cuomo was drunk. And because he was drunk, it's like he probably was just being very like overtly I want to say overtly comfortable with like cupping a woman's face in his hands. I don't know. It's very strange, but alcohol can make people do funny things, and he obviously didn't read it, because, in my opinion, if he was sober, he would look at this woman's reaction and just like instantly stop. But he was comfortable, in my opinion, because he was inebriated. So that's for that woman. And then the other woman, the one who said he kissed her on the lips, she said that after it came out that she was trying to run for a government position. And I know people give me crap about this, like, Erica, you can't give her crap about the timing of it. I'm like, no, I will give you crap, because if you want to be public about this stuff, please don't do this while you're trying to run for office. Like, that detracts from whatever you stand for, right? People are going to care more about what happened rather than whatever you want to stand for as, let's say, a president or something like that. They don't want to hear about your vision. They're gonna be like, oh, so what is the backstory about Cuomo? So what did Cuomo do? Like, no, it's just gonna overshadow whatever political ambitions that you have. And just poor timing. If she'd done this, like, if she had just come out and then not run for anything, like, I think people would pay attention a lot more. But now it's kind of like people kind of question, like, okay, why are you doing this now? You're doing this now because you want to take down Andrew Cuomo, or get hired into a position, get voted into a position, and then you can, use your power that way. Just poor freaking timing. No, I'm going to be talking about the timing. The timing does matter about that kind of thing. You don't run for a position and then say, oh, yeah, this is what happened to me and I'm running at the same time. Do it beforehand or do it afterwards. Do it after you. Don't announce it while you're running, because then it just it shifts the focus from your policy. From your policy or whatever you stand for or whatever you want to do to corral people to vote for you. I'm not going to vote for a person simply because they got kissed by Andrew Cuomo. Like, you guys get what I'm saying? Like, if someone was running for a political office, I wouldn't do that just based on what happened to them. I would have to look at, like, what do they see themselves doing? Are they a responsible person? So, like, the whole thing about Cuomo kissing this woman on the mouth, like that's uncalled for. I don't know why he would do that. But I don't know. It's very strange. Okay, let's see. Here we go. So see, like the wedding one, I'm just chalking this up that the guy was drunk. Look at this. He had asked her and whether she ever had, like, okay, so this is definitely crossing the line here. I wish you said that in her interview, like, when did this happen? Because I'm not, yeah, or like, what specifically did he say? Like, what led up to it? Like, I put down my papers, and then, he just randomly asked me about that, and he looked like he was keenly interested about this and this detail, that kind of thing. Oh, here we go. So she's running for Manhattan Borough President. So she accused him back in December, and she didn't specify into details. And then she called on him to resign. See this? No, I think he made an error in judgment because he was drunk. I don't think it was malicious in that intent. Like, yeah, it's not, it wasn't good for him to make this unwanted advance, to cup this woman's face. Where is it? You guys can't even see it. But yeah, I mean, like, I know people, like I said, I know people will give me crap about the timing and say, like, oh, what doesn't matter about the timing, it matters what he did. No, it does matter about the timing, because you don't say this kind of stuff while you're running. That's just me. You do it beforehand. Because it detracts from what you want people to focus on. Like, nobody's gonna really focus on, like, she's running. They're gonna think, like, oh, okay, well, let me just focus on the Cuomo thing. No, I'm saying that this is the reason why I think it happened. I think he was drunk. Like, it's an unwanted advance, but it sounded like all he did was kind of like cup her face. Let me look at that again. Okay, so he put his hand on her lower back, and then he remarked she seemed aggressive, and then placed his hands on her cheeks and asked if he could kiss her. And then she She pulled away as she drew closer. And yeah. So is this not a good thing to do? Definitely not a good thing to do. But, will I say, oh, someone should step down because they did this to a woman while they were drunk at a wedding? I would say, like, you know what? No, I don't think so. I don't think this is, like, one of those situations. I'd be like, yeah, it's a slimy thing, but this is not, in my opinion, a whole thing to, like, say, like, oh, yeah, well, the guy was drunk, and he put his hand on a woman's lower back, and then he said that she sounded aggressive, and then he wanted to kiss her, and he cupped her face in his hands, and yeah, he cannot be a politician anymore. You guys get what I'm saying? It was at her wedding? No, I don't think it was at her wedding. It was a wedding they attended. This wasn't her wedding. See, at a wedding. You don't go to a wedding and wear black. Because if you look at the picture, she was wearing a black outfit. Let's pull it up. Gosh, damn it. Yeah, see? Like, what bride wears black? See this? He's wearing black, she's wearing black. This is not her wedding. This is a wedding that both of them attended. See? So you guys can, like, look at his face. She's like, what the hell? So Cuomo is not married. He used to be married to Kerry Kennedy. But I feel bad for, it's like if Cuomo is truly lonely and he's trying to find women, like, he really cannot be going at it like this, for sure. Just approaching women that he works with, because this kind of stuff can happen. He needs to go for women, in my opinion, that have kind of been, that are probably, that he meets outside of the workplace, or alternatively that he gets introduced to, or women who he knows that are clearly interested in him. And I remember that when this whole situation was going on, like, people were calling him, like, the love gov. I'm sure there's, like, a bunch of women who are interested in Andrew Cuomo. And maybe some women who are in their 20s, like 22, 23, 24, 25. Not very many of them, I imagine, but there might be a few women. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some women would like, dating a governor like this. Some, but not very many. I mean, I think really, but if he wants to find a woman, I know he knows people that know people that are single, and they could probably hook him up with people too. And, but yeah, I refuse to believe that this guy doesn't have someone in his vast network of connections and friends that knows one single woman, because I know there's at least one single woman, more than one single woman who is attractive, who's smart, who's eloquent, and she would get along with Andrew Cuomo. But maybe he's interested in younger chicks, which is a little harder to find, especially if they're around their early 20s. I don't know. I don't think, I remember he was dating Sandra Lee for a long time. This was his longtime girlfriend. They were dating for a number of years. This woman is not 20s. She's in her, I think she's like in her 40s. Gorgeous woman too. Let's see. So she's 54 years old. My bad. She's 54 years old. So, Andrew Cuomo is 63 years old, right? 63, 54, going for someone who is 22 years old or 25 years old is a bit, a little too young. Just my opinion. Let's see. That is a 41-year age difference. Oh, jeez. Yeah. That's more than having me in the middle kind of thing, because I'm 32, right? So I don't think that, I think that it's attractive to talk about, let's say, dating a younger woman. But the fact is that when you date a woman who is that young, although she might be more physically attractive, a lot of the times mentally women aren't there yet. And what I'm saying is that like women, like a woman who is 22 does not have the life experience, would not have a lot of the same kind of thought process that a person who is 63 does, right? Person who is 63 has had many years of experience and amassing knowledge. So a 22-year-old, especially 22-year-olds now, a lot of them are just kind of social media holes. Yeah, I can't imagine most. I mean, I can't imagine most 22-year-olds being able to be on the same page with a 63-year-old. And there's a huge, age difference, power difference, life experience difference. So it's if he really is looking for someone in their 20s, it's it might seem attractive in the beginning, but over time it's going to be very apparent that he is a lot more has a lot more life knowledge and life experience than a 22-year-old. No, he said he was looking for a girlfriend. See, that's the thing, Gray Fox. So he says it's all about how he responds. If she says no and he keeps going, that's wrong. If she says no and he stops, that's not an issue. So with the person that you saw in the interview, it sounded like there were things that he would say, and then she like he asked her like, oh, have you found me a girlfriend yet? Her reply is not, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, I'm working on it. That's a pretty flirty answer to say to that. Or it's not like, I don't want to have this conversation. It makes me uncomfortable. It's just, yeah, I'm working on it. It seems pretty flirty to me. You know what, Henrik? I would disagree with you there, because you could say that you're fat and ugly, but then there's also women out there who believe that they're fat and ugly and they're in relationships, right? So people who aren't fat and ugly doesn't mean that they can't find a person that they get along with. And it's all in the eye of the beholder. You might think that you're fat and ugly, but another person might not, find you fat and ugly. I remember I have a neighbor, right? And she was married to her husband, who unfortunately passed away, for over about, I think it was like 40 years or so. And she told me, she said when she was dating him, when she was married to him, like so many people said like, oh, why are you into this guy? He's so ugly. And she said that she found him to be handsome. And there was a huge age difference. I think there was like a 25-year age difference between them. But I remember she just like, after he passed away, she told me, she said, despite people thinking he was unattractive, she said she maintained that she always found him attractive. So it wasn't just about like the physical looks; it was also about the mental. So please do not think that just if you look in the mirror that you're unattractive, because that's not the case. That's just my opinion, though. What do you mean? Please don't blame the victim here. How am I blaming the victim? Well, okay. Here's the thing. No, I am gonna say that, because here, if they are having conversations, right, and she's being what's perceived to be flirty back with him, right? If he's saying like, oh, I'm looking for a girlfriend, and then she's saying like, oh, well, you could, why don't you go after your daughter, why don't you just if you're lonely, why don't you just talk to your daughters, right? He might be all like, ah, no, I'm really just looking to be in a relationship with someone, just like anyone over the age of 22. Like, she could have shut that thing down. And I think of it this way. If you are a woman, if you are a person, and someone says anything to you, you have either two options. You can either get away from it, or you can try to shut them down yourself, or you can talk to HR. And I have done this in my own life. So I mean, I can speak, so I can do this. And I know people would say, well, don't blame the victim. You gotta take pity on her or something like that. She looks like a very capable woman. She, if someone is misjudging something, or if they think that they're going through friendly banter, then she has the option to just disengage, or she has the option to shut it down. And I do not believe for a second it's this whole thing where, like, she doesn't feel comfortable telling him like, yeah, I actually don't want to talk about my sex life, or I don't want to talk about, my preference. I mean, she could have easily said that, right? She didn't have to give an answer, and he would have taken that as a hint to just like to back off. No, you have control over this stuff. You do. When it comes to this kind of like flirty conversation, you do have control over it. And again, I say this as a woman who has had conversations with men. It's like you can either tell them flat out like, I don't want to talk about this stuff. This thing makes me uncomfortable. But I'm not going to paint someone as, an abuser or being strategic or things like that. When if someone doesn't put their foot down. You don't have to say you're interested. You could just say, I don't want to talk about this. It makes me uncomfortable. She looks like she's an outspoken woman. It doesn't look like she's a field mouse. Yeah, but you can easily say, I don't want to talk about this. Or you could say, that's, I feel uncomfortable with this conversation. But like I said, if someone says, hey, have you found me a girlfriend yet? And the reply is, I'm working on it. It sounds very playful. So I am going to place some blame on that kind of thing. Like, why didn't you say anything? And again, I say this as a woman who has had these kind of conversations, and it's like you either are okay with it, or you play around with it. You're like, okay, someone's flirting with me, I'll flirt back. Or you just kind of say like, you know what, I got a boyfriend. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about this kind of stuff. But I think what this will do is it will set a precedence that if anybody is working with a female and you are in a position of power, you probably should not hire a female. I'm going to say it out loud. Like, I know people aren't going to want to hear this, but it's true. If you are a male and you are with female aides, you should never ever be alone with them, because you don't know if something that you say kind of flirtily could be misconstrued. So for instance, right? If you don't know if something that you don't know if something that you can say could make someone very uncomfortable, and then they turn it back on you. So for instance, right, let's say if I was a male politician and I had a female aide, and then I see a cover of, let's just say we walk in a grocery store, or we see a poster and I see a picture of, let's say, a Sports Illustrated model, right? And then I pass by it and I make the comment like, oh wow, she looks fantastic. Wow, she looks, that woman looks great, right? Someone could be like, oh man, look how lascivious this guy is, or something like that. You see? So very dangerous to have kind of like candid conversations, or just you got to watch out what you say. If you say any remark that could be construed as flirty to a female, she could be like, oh, I'm getting sexually harassed, this makes me feel so uncomfortable, he's such a sleazeball. I can definitely see this happening more and more in the future, so I really think that men need to be on guard. 100%. So I don't want anybody to be, to think like, I know most of you people, most of my viewers are men. Like, you really got to watch out what you're saying, because you might think you're being nice and, flirty, or you're just making random talk, but you never know if you're going to end up with a woman who turns it against you, and tries and makes you sound like a terrible person, when your intention was never to be like that. And I'm just gonna say, there are people who do get accused of certain things, and maybe it's like, in their eyes, they thought like, oh, I'm just having some friendly workplace banter, I'm just trying to be flirty because my work is so stressful. And if one person, uh, doesn't see it that way, and then they get offended and they take it to HR, you can lose your job. You can lose your job. Your career can get smeared by, someone saying like, oh yeah, he was making all these comments about women to me. Man, what a pig! Like, you don't want that kind of stain on you. If you're, especially if you're a visible politician, or someone in a influential position. You don't want that, 100%. So just watch out what you say, and never ever, in my opinion, I would say, be very guarded if you're around a woman alone, and because you don't know. Like, if you become a politician one day, let's say, I know most of you won't be politicians, but you never know when someone might come out of the woodwork and then make accusations, and it could be true, it might be false, right? But if if a person comes out and they say that kind of stuff, like, that would be pretty damning. And I know that, there's certain things that come into recent light where women come out of the woodwork, and then they say like, oh, this happened to me, a long time ago. And one of the things that really that kind of sticks out to me, and I don't know too much about it, but I've only heard about it a little, was Justice Kavanaugh. You remember him? So he got an allegation, I believe, of rape, and he had a journal, and I believe, if I remember correctly, he said that he never even met her. He writes in his journal every day, and during that day, he didn't go to a party or anything. So he could not be the person that she accused of either raping her or sexually assaulting her or something like that. And it's really hard, it's really hard to, like, get out of that position if you get accused of something. Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like, I don't know what happened, but let's just say a woman had something happen to her, and then she remembers it wrong, or somehow she thinks it's another person when it's not. Like, that can be really damaging to someone's political aspirations or their career aspirations. So just be careful. Just be careful. Yeah, you don't know. So that's what the thing that surprised me about Cuomo, because I feel like if he knows how vocal Charlotte Bennett is about sexual assault and, going through this kind of thing, why would you make this kind of comment to that? Because if this kind of woman is so vocal, this is the last person you really want to be kind of alluding that you might be sexually interested in, because that's going to turn into a sexual harassment allegation, right? Right? I mean, like, that's just my take on it. Like, you just piece things together, and I just think like, dang it, maybe he was thinking maybe he was flirty, maybe he was thinking with his little head instead of his big head, or maybe he was just bored. But whatever it is, like, you just don't know if, like I said, if someone is willing to go in public on TV in the future and then make allegations about you, and then just, yeah, it's just not good. So I just like, I don't understand why Cuomo did what he did. I do think something happened, but I, I, I don't know what his thinking was. He never addressed it, and he doesn't have to address it, right? But it's just like you put yourself in a position where you know someone's vocal, and then you do this kind of stuff to them, or you make these kind of comments, or jokes to them, and you know that this person can easily run with it. Why would you put yourself in that kind of thing? And now he has to deal with this kind of stuff. I've heard Cuomo is an ass. Like, I don't really watch too much of the Cuomo stuff. I heard about if you want to be, if you want a job, then you can be one of those, not the first responders, but you can be a professional or something like that. Like, yeah, he doesnn't look like, he looks like he could be a douchebag. But again, I don't know too much about Andrew Cuomo outside of the COVID stuff. Okay, see ya. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm curious to see what happens. I'm also curious to see, I'm also curious to see, um, is this gonna get bigger, or is more women gonna come forward, and we're gonna hear more things about this, or is it, or it's gonna be, if it's just these three women. Very, very curious. But right now, I think that he is definitely reassessing the situation. He has to be a lot careful about who he mouths off to or who he talks to about this kind of stuff. And I just hope, for if we're sleeping, a little bit more soundly, definitely get more male aides. Get male aides, or make sure you're never alone with an aide. Because once you're alone with an aide, then it turns into a possible he said, she said. And it is very hard to fight against that kind of stuff. Like, if someone made an allegation and they said, I was Andrew Cuomo's aide, and I brought some papers over to his office, and he did, he groped me and things like that. Like, he would not be able to prove that didn't happen. Because if he had, if he allowed himself to be alone with a person, right? There's no way to disprove that kind of stuff. So, I heard, and I might be remembering it wrong, but I heard Mike Pence does not allow himself to be alone with any females. He always has someone else there with him, allegedly. But I could be remembering it that wrong. And if that is the case, that's a really smart policy, because all you need is one accusation, and then like one, like, oh, he groped me kind of accusation coming out, boom, end of political career. And so, just, it seems like such common sense, but that's why it just kind of befuddles me. It just surprises me that this happened to Cuomo, and it was relatively recent. For someone who has been a politician for this long, you would think that they would be very mindful about what they say to people, what questions they're asking to people. But maybe he gauged, like, maybe he thought, like, oh, I can trust her, I can have this banter with her, and she won't do anything. Like, maybe he thought, like, oh, she's flirting with me too, yeah, it's okay, we're fine. But no, she went on national TV. So, for me, it's like the conversations I've had with men and the little bantering thing, like, I would never ever disclose like identities or anything like that, because it's like you don't it's like one of those like things. It's like, okay, you have this little flirty conversation, really don't need to be like, oh yeah, and then he asked me about some personal questions and things like that. Like, no. Yeah. And for someone who has worked really hard in their career, I would not want to be one of those people who, it's like, you have friendly banter, you release it out publicly, the identities are linked with them, and then all of a sudden people are like, yeah, what a sleaze bag, oh my goodness, he had this little flirty combo, oh, that's so inappropriate, that kind of stuff. Like the people that I've had these kind of conversations with, like they're people who are respected, you know, people who work very hard in their careers, people that are flirty. And it's like, yeah, it's like I don't it's like when I engage in those conversations, it's like you have the opportunity to turn that kind of thing down or be like, yeah, you know, I don't really want to talk about it, and then just, yeah, just kind of shut it down, or you tell them like you have a boyfriend, and then that really does shut it down 100%. If you are in a situation and it makes you uncomfortable, then you owe it to yourself to say something. You do. Either get away from it, or, you know, report it, um, tell the person like, hey, this makes me uncomfortable, um, or, you know, just, yeah, just tell the person up front like, this makes me uncomfortable to talk about. I don't want to talk about it. She has a mouth, okay? She has a mouth. She can speak English, so she could have definitely told him like, end the conversation. I don't want to talk about this stuff. You're pushing it a little too much. And again, I see it as just like flirty conversation. So I don't think she's. I know people will give me crap about this, but I don't think she's that innocent. I really don't. Yeah, I don't understand the nursing home scandal thing too much. I've been kind of reading into it. I'm like, eh. Like I understand they falsified some data and a lot of people died, and but I haven't really looked too much into it. Yeah, so Tranquil, you're right. If you were in a position of power, it really does benefit you from making sure that you have another person there. Making sure that, you know, maybe you have some recordings in your office or something like that, or you meet with people in a meeting room when you interact with them, and then some kind of cameras recording, because that way if someone says, oh, you know, he pushed me or something like that, like you can say like, that didn't happen. I have a video recording of it, like I did not assault you. She did try to speak up. She did try to speak up, but when you say things like, "Oh, did you find, you know, have you found me a girlfriend?" and she says, "You know, I'm working on it." That's kind of like, you know, she could say like, "I don't want to talk about it." Again, I hold on to the stance that I don't think she's that innocent. I know people are going to say, "Oh, she was traumatized so much by him." Okay, maybe that's the case. But still, you gotta say, like, why didn't you go ahead and just say, like, disengage? Why don't you disengage? You're not just meeting him once, you're meeting him several times. You could have easily said, like, hey, you know, this made me a little feel a little uncomfortable. She's a smart woman, okay? I know she can do this. Okay, I know politically I should say, like, oh yeah, poor thing, Cuomo's a terrible person. Oh, da da da. No, I'm not gonna. People, you know what? I think we've gotten into this whole situation where it's like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but don't just be like, give people a pass just because they didn't speak up. You gotta say like, yeah, it was a terrible thing that happened, or it was a shitty thing that happened, but don't be all like, oh yeah, you can't criticize her because she was the victim. Like, you can always disengage. So victim blaming. So am I not allowed to criticize her? Because whenever I think about victim blaming, it's almost like, shh, you're not supposed to criticize. Just say, like, he's in the wrong because he did something to her, allegedly, and she could have spoken up. But if you say anything against that, or if you ever question, then you're in the wrong for simply questioning. I don't doubt that I don't doubt that he had this conversation with her. He never outright said, like, these were lies or these were slanderous. I know he knows what happened, but I don't think it was malicious. I think he was truly trying to have a conversation. And he was trying to be flirty about it, which was really stupid. It sounded like it was a one-off thing. It sounded like he just had this conversation with her, and then he was just trying to be flirty, and then he ran with this whole thing about him being lonely, wanting a girlfriend, and then it just made her feel uncomfortable. And then he told her, like, he's open to dating younger women, and asked her if she's ever been with an older guy, and yeah. So for blaming for her for not to be okay, so you know what? So if I blame her for not telling him to stop, I'm not blaming her, but I'm really just saying, like, I'm commenting. Like, you can definitely, if you can be vocal enough to speak on national television, and then go and talk to your the chief of staff, and say, what he did was wrong, da da da. You could have honestly just told him, like, just cut it off earlier and just be like, I don't want to answer these questions. Like, again, I think what happened to her really shaped her perception about what happened. I don't think that he was grooming her. I think that it sounds attractive to portray that he was grooming her, or he's some sort of sicko, or he tries to take advantage of possible, rape victims or something. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think that, in my opinion, I think her past experiences are affecting how she perceived this experience to be. And this is just me commenting about it. I think that, like, the choice of words that were being said makes me kind of question, and, like, wow, this is really very emotional. Not an emotional in the sense that, like, the way she's saying it, like, I forgot what she was saying, like, strategic. Like, I didn't see the thing to be strategic at all. If And then the other thing too is like, I didn't understand, like, why do you think, like, not telling the chief of staff is not going to go back to Cuomo? Like, I think it's pretty apparent, like, if you're going to tell someone's chief of staff who reports directly to Cuomo, the chief of staff is going to tell Cuomo, right? Unless I'm remembering this wrong, chief of staff reports to their higher up, and the higher up would be, like, the president or the governor. I'm not saying that all you have is she should have done something sooner. I'm just adding that in. People don't like hearing this kind of stuff, 100%. They don't want to hear that, oh, like, she should have done something. It's like, but I think I stand by this thing. Like, yes, if you have had multiple interactions with the person, right? You could have just said, hey, it made me feel uncomfortable what you did last time, or yeah, I don't want to participate in this conversation. That is, you kind of have this, like, yeah, you could have shock, but if someone asks you a question, you don't have to answer it. You can always say no comment. And that is something that, it's like, you have that discretion. You don't have to answer every single question. And she comes off as a smart chick, so it's like I know she can come into her head. It can form into her head like if she doesn't want to answer a question, she could simply not answer it. So I don't know if she answered it or not. It doesn't say either. But the other thing that I don't understand is like she said in that interview that she said things, but there was more to it than she's disclosing in the interview. And for the sake of knowing what's going on, wouldn't it be better? My argument is this. I have concerns about what she's saying. I think that I even showed you guys a clip. Like the part of what she's saying, it seems pretty insecure to me. It seems kind of insincere to me, and I've said this again. I think her experience with what happened to her in the past, which was terrible, is affecting how she interpreted her conversation with Cuomo. But you, Spear, from my understanding, you seem to be very much on her side, and I can understand that. But I'm criticizing it because I think that the way it's coming off, and maybe it's the way like I'm seeing her words. I just don't. I think that I'm not gonna just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna believe everything what she said, because she's a victim. You see, like it's totally fair for me to criticize her for it, and it's totally fair for me to bring up these kind of concerns. No, I don't think. I think that's a different situation, Dirty Dan. If I keep my car unlocked with the keys in it, it's not like she was wearing. I think like if a woman is wearing, let's say, revealing clothes, that doesn't mean that she was asking for it. But I think that I think it's two different situations because in this situation, it's like I see it being overtly emotionalized, and I see it in part of because of what happened to her. That's just my interpretation of it. I did criticize what she said. If you listen back to it, I criticized about the part where I felt like it was pretty insincere. I questioned certain things. Like she isn't going into detail about like what exactly was said. She didn't say like what led up to it. And like I said, it's very strange for someone to say, "Oh, I'm lonely. Oh, has your has your rape in the past affected your relationships?" Like, who puts those two sentences together? That's freaking weird. Like, nobody does that. And then even that one part, and let me show it to you guys. Like, it just screamed of fakeness. I don't know. Let me show this.
Did she seem surprised by what you told her?
She seemed surprised, but looking back, I think it would have been a longer conversation had it been really shocking to her.
2 days later, she says she was...
It said that I would get in trouble.
Why did you ultimately leave the administration?
I couldn't handle it. I thought not working directly with him, I thought if I could step away just even a little bit, I would be fine and I wouldn't have to give up all that I had worked for. But I was still working in the executive chamber. I was still working for him. And everyone around me is still concerned with him, still talking about him.
So she couldn't handle hearing about Andrew Cuomo.
The orbit, it's still Andrew Cuomo.
How do you respond to viewers who may doubt your story?
It's hard enough sharing this story when it's true. I can't imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies. I don't know who would do that. I couldn't make this up. And also, I loved my job.
You see, like that part over here? I love my job. Let me go back. Like, totally unnecessary. This was very off-putting for me.
Like, I really looked up to him. I looked up to the governor. He was my mentor.
What do you think should happen
Does
to
that
Andrew
sound
Cuomo?
convincing to you? He was my mentor. Let's listen to that.
I think you should start telling the truth. And even a little bit,
Viewers who may doubt your story.
it's hard enough sharing this story when it's true. I can't imagine.
Or, like, I don't know. There's just something about the end part that kind of makes me a little bit. It just rubbed me the wrong way.
Imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies. I don't know who would do that. I couldn't make this up. And also, I loved my job. Like, I really looked up to him. I looked up to the governor. He was my mentor.
What do you think should happen to Andrew Cuomo?
I think he should start telling the truth. And I'm really confident in this investigation. But
What was the truth? The truth is, she wants acknowledgement. Because it doesn't seem like he was hiding anything. So watch it again. I know I'm going to play this, but yeah.
I was still working in the executive chamber. I was still working for him. And everyone around me is still concerned with him, still talking about him. The orbit, it's still Andrew Cuomo.
How do you respond to viewers who may doubt your story?
How I would answer this would be this. If someone said about, how would you respond for people who doubt my story? I would say, I have no reason to lie about this kind of thing. I didn't want this to happen, but it did. And I want to share this because I don't want this to happen to another woman. That's what I would say if this was me. But what she says is,
It's hard enough sharing this story when it's true. I can't imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies.
I can't imagine what it would be like to sit here and tell you lies. That doesn't make sense.
I don't know who would do that. I couldn't make this up.
I couldn't make this up.
And also,
Look at that little doubt. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell this on to you.
I loved my job. Like, I really looked up to him. I looked up to the governor. He was my mentor.
Do you see her eyes? It's like going wide. Like she really does want you to believe. Really does want you to believe her.
What do you think should happen to Andrew Cuomo?
I think he should start telling the truth.
See, so she doesn't try to sell you over there, but it's like she wants to be like, yeah, I love the governor. Just...
And I'm really confident in this investigation. But if this investigation finds that he has conducted himself this way, which he absolutely has, because I have contemporaneous evidence, he should step down. New York deserves a governor who treats people with respect, who does not harass or discriminate.
And that his career should be over.
I think, people like this can rehabilitate. I believe that. I think it takes...
Okay, 100%. She knows that by going on camera like this, she's possibly ruining his career. It's not a rehabilitation thing. I mean, even when I look back at the whole apology thing, it doesn't come off to me that she's like, oh, poor Andrew Cuomo, yeah, I want him to rehabilitate. It's more like, apologize to me. Say, I'm sorry, Charlotte Bennett. Like, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of ragey. It's like, oh, and maybe I know some people will be like, well, she's a victim, Erica. Of course she's going to be mad about this kind of stuff, but it's just like, I just feel like she's making, I know this is going to come off as really bad, but I just kind of feel like I wish there was something being said, like, if he did this to me, I know he did this to other women, or, he needs to be stopped, and like this kind of stuff, I hope that he isn't in office, so he does this to other people kind of thing. But it was just more like, it's like all the focus is, it's just like she wants a personal apology. She wants him to name her in the media, specifically. So yeah, let me listen to this part.
An apology sounds like
See? Here, right here. So 10:43.
he planned.
Governor Cuomo said that he has never propositioned anybody. Do you believe that he was propositioning you?
Yes.
For what?
Sex.
Did you watch Governor Cuomo's apology?
Right here. Watch this part.
I did. It's not an apology. The fact is that he was sexually harassing me, and he has not apologized for sexually harassing me. And he can't even use my name. An apology sounds like, Charlotte Bennett, I am sorry for sexually harassing you. It was inappropriate and wrong.
As you left work,
Dang, she wants him to name her in the media specifically? You would think as if you're a victim, like, you don't want your name to be kind of known as that person. More like, I know what happened was bad and things like that, but it's like if you name out the name like that, that could be even potentially more embarrassing. I almost see it. It almost kind of comes off as like she would have a lot of gratification if she got to see him on the news directly addressing her, by name, and just be like, yeah, I made a mistake. I made a misstep towards you, Charlotte Bennett, and I am personally very, very sorry about it. It's like, yeah. It just looks like I don't know, there's like so much different things in here, and I think it's maybe just hearing her say like she wants him to address her by name. That's kind of like, whoa. I mean, like, I've seen a lot of these cases where people, victims come out and then they say like, oh, what happened to them was really sickening, and they want to make sure that this person stopped. It kind of just seems like I don't know, it's like the way it comes off to me in this interview, it like she doesn't really care about the other people. Like, that's the kind of way that I'm picking up on this. But she wants everybody to know that Governor Cuomo should apologize to Charlotte Bennett personally and use her name. But the thing is that I don't think she can, like, I know some people will talk about a book deal thing. I don't think she can get a book deal. You want to know why? Because what's her book going to be about? Oh, he told me he was interested in women who are older than 22 years old. Oh, he asked me if I was ever, what was it? Damn it. He asked me if I ever had sex with an older man. He asked me about my sex life, and he told me he's a lonely man who's open to dating someone over 22 years old. Like, that is going to be not too big of a book at all. So, but what this can create is everybody know who Charlotte Bennett is, and this is the person that's Governor Cuomo asked about her sex life and asked if she ever had sex with older men, and I don't know, it's just, well, I guarantee you now everybody knows who Charlotte Bennett's name is, because again, she wants Governor Cuomo to address her by name, and I won't be surprised in the future if she I don't know if she's going to show up more on the media, but I won't be surprised if she continually says like, I don't feel that Governor Cuomo apologized to me personally because he did not address me by name still. I do believe it's possible, for sure. I do, it's like there's no reason to not believe or that he, didn't ask her these kind of questions. Now, are these very intrusive questions? Of course it is. Like, have you ever had sex with an older man? Have you ever, um, how is your sex life? Obtrusive questions, but these are questions that people can be asked at. For instance, right? I know that there are some people who, they can enter in conversations with a random, with a person that they know, and then the person could just like maybe a friend or a coworker or just like if they're a celebrity and they're giving an interview with someone, like those kind of things. Like, yeah, some people are curious, and she even said like he's kind of gossipy, so maybe I think it was wrong for him to ask those kind of questions, especially to someone who is his his aide. Like, definitely wrong to do. It's really just not setting him up to be in a good position, right? I mean, it's like if word leaked out that this happened, he looks like a jerk, and then um, that's exactly what happened. So, was it inappropriate? Definitely inappropriate for him to ask, especially and it was just like I find it so shocking. It's like, how could a person who's been in politics for a number of years make this kind of mistake? Why would you ask someone who is uh, a rape victim about, or they talk openly about sexual harassment or sexual abuse, and they even said that they're going to give a talk to their college. Like, why would you even entertain these kind of questions? Because you should know common sense that if a person's this outspoken, then they're probably going to be outspoken about you. So that's just me. So if I was Governor Cuomo, what I would do is I would stand by my apology, and I would not address her by name, and I would just wait for this thing to go away, because it will eventually go away, in my opinion. It's like you can't really push a story out very long. Oh, he told me he wanted to have sex with me and I was 20. Like, this kind of stuff is not going to go on very long. But the more that he if this thing drags out, then yeah, the more stretched out it's going to be. But I don't really think that that's going to happen. I believe that there's a very good chance that it did happen. But do I see his actions as strategic? Do I see him as this very, very terrible person that could just be trying to capitalize on an opportunity because she was a rape victim before? Like, I don't think that was in his mind when he was asking these kind of questions. I think it was inappropriate. I think it was very obtrusive, but I don't think he's that kind of calculating. He has way more to lose, right? If word came out about him saying this kind of stuff. And let's be honest with you guys. Let's be honest here. It's like, if you're a politician, if you're gonna do this kind of stuff, you really should be discreet. And this was not discreet. You cannot make more of an error. Like, maybe he thought he was close. He was close with her. Maybe he misjudged her, and maybe he thought like, oh, he could just banter with her and she won't say anything, and they'll just have, a flirty time. But like I said, obviously he miscalculated. So I am curious to see what happens. I think that, Cuomo has talked about an investigation. If it comes out that he did, ask her these questions, I won't be surprised. I'll be like, okay, learning experience. Don't be alone with a female aide, because you never know. You never know what could happen in the future. And having something like alleged sexual harassment, or if someone came out and said, oh, Andrew Cuomo groped me and he was, he is, he is abusive towards women, like that kind of stuff, that could like I said, that could end someone's career. So again, if anybody works with females alone, or if anybody is in a position of higher like a politician especially, please do not be alone with any females. Seriously. Because if you try to have this friendly kind of, if you try to banter with a female or say like, oh, so what are you doing tonight? Oh, do you have a boyfriend or something like that? Or, oh, oh, you're not going out with someone? Maybe that could be construed as you being very forward. Or maybe they could say like, oh, yeah, this person was trying to, make me uncomfortable or something like that. Or, oh, yeah, oh, really? So, yeah, what kind of guys are you into? Oh, are you into older guys? Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, see, I'm into younger women, so, yeah, you should go for older guys. Like, something like that could be considered harmless. But depending on how it's construed, they could be like, wow, what a predator. Asking a woman if she's into older guys. It's all about the way people perceive things. So yeah, right now we got three cases, and they all seem relatively recent. So I would expect, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, more people come forward and they say, oh yeah, Andrew Cuomo did this or Andrew Cuomo did that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna resign over this. I think that, like, can you imagine the outcry if like they say, oh yeah, so what did he do? Oh, he asked a woman if she ever had sex with an older guy, and he also mentioned that he was into women who are older than 22, and the woman he sent this to was 25. So yeah, he should he should be forced to resign because of that question. Like, that's a little overkill. Kissing a woman on the lips, when she didn't ask for it, and then forcing him to resign over that's kind of overkill too. And then, the whole wedding thing, cupping her hands and that kind of stuff, that's a little overkill too. Now, putting it all together and saying that, a person should be stripped out of office because of a combination of these three things, I think that's kind of overkill. And I think that if he was to get forced to resign because of it, it would send a chill up, other male politicians, and they would say, shit, I don't want to lose my office because if I get some accusation coming out, so I got to make sure that I either hire only ideally male aides, or make sure there's someone with me at all times. So I don't think he's going to be forced to resign. It's not appropriate for work. But again, it's like some people, they have these kind of conversations during, work hours or professional settings, or that kind of stuff. And it's just like, it's inappropriate, but sometimes these things just show up. He's not going to resign. Actually, he's actually said he wasn't going to resign. Let's see this. Let's pull this up. Yep, see, I'm not going to resign. He says he didn't know he was making... Here we go. So he said he learned an important lesson. He didn't say what that lesson is, but I imagine the lesson will be hire male aides. Let me pull this up. See, this apology, I don't really believe it. I never knew at the time I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. I certainly never meant to offend anybody or hurt anyone or cause any pain. That's the last thing I'd ever want to do. He felt embarrassed. Like, I'm sure he could probably pick up on body language, you know, like that woman who was cupping her face, like, where is it? Can't see her. And that would make him uncomfortable. Look at this. When asked about the picture holding the face of one of his accusers, he said, "You can find hundreds of pictures of me kissing people, men and women. It's my usual customary way of greeting. I kiss and hug legislators, but that doesn't matter my intent. What matters is if anyone is offended by it." So let's check this out. Cuomo kissing. Okay. Sorry, you guys. Yeah, I gotta look at this up. Jeez. Okay, so he's kissing Pelosi. He's kissing that's his wife. Kissing this woman too. That was Sandra Lee. No. Kissing this guy. I don't know who this is. Oh, is this his father? I don't know who that is. Don Lemon? Oh yeah, see, I guess Cuomo kissing really, well, he really does kiss a lot of people. Bob Woodruff kissed by, wow, geez, he really does kiss a lot. Geez, he's a serial kisser. Dang, look at that. I never knew I would see so much kissing pictures from Andrew Cuomo. Look at that. Oh, that's his mother. Is his mom kissing him on the lips? His mom is kissing him on the lips. Just, dang. He just, okay, no, that's Trump. See. Let's see. Okay. Oh man. Okay, wait, hold up a second. I gotta get the Don Lemon one for you guys. Oh, look at that. I gotta see how does Cuomo go in for the kiss for Don Lemon? Okay, hold on. Wait, let me pull this up. Yeah, so remember, see, he's like puckering it. Just, yeah. Como kiss. Let's look. Oh, Stephen Colbert. Oh my gosh, he kisses the world. Look at that. Look at that kiss. Jeez, this is way too much Google image for me. Look at this. More kisses. He just. Oh my goodness, the kisses are just going. Okay, here we go. Let me click on this. Where's the kiss scene around the world?
And take the grace.
Okay.
And take the opportunity to be better. I love you, brother. Have a good.
Okay, there. See? It's a kissy thing. See how quick that was?
And take the grace and take the opportunity to be better. I love you, brother. Have a good night and a good show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Okay, there you go. The formal kiss. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so he looks like he does this hand kiss. He puts the hand. Or are we like watch Cuomo kissing again?
And a good show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I missed the kiss.
And take the grace and take the opportunity to be better. I love you, brother.
So one hand on the cheek, over here. No, this is Don Lemon. Oh, that was his brother. Okay, I was gonna say Don Lemon is not Chris. Oh wait, Chris Cuomo. Oh damn it, wrong Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, I'm so sorry, I read this wrong. Yeah, that's Chris Cuomo. Okay. Damn it. What? Hold up a second. Damn it, I forgot his brother. Okay, let's find more of the Cuomos kissing. Okay. So that is Andrew Cuomo. I guess that's his dad. He's kissing it. He's kissing his dad. He doesn't do the hand to the cheek to Pelosi. Let's see more of the kisses. Looks like he's kissing this woman too. See this? That is a kiss on the neck. That looks like a kiss to me. Just a lot of kisses. And we get more kisses here. More kisses. Why am I looking up Andrew Cuomo kissing everybody? Just the shit that I do at 3 a.m. Crap. Okay, well, you guys get the idea. So he says there's a bunch of pictures of him kissing people. Men, women, kissing everybody. And then you got the nursing care home thing, which I gotta look into. Here we go. Oh, look at this. Governor Cuomo called me directly to threaten my career if I did not cover up for Melissa. Ooh, yeah, I gotta look at what happened with the nursing nursing care home thing. Yeah, I'll look into that later. But anyway, I gotta get going to sleep soon. But I wanted to share with you guys this thing. Curious to see how this thing turns out. Does it, do we hear more about what happened? Do more women come forward? Does this turn into a bigger and bigger and bigger thing? Because usually when you hear about women coming forward, usually that just, like, you see a few, but then there might be more, right? And I'm curious to see, how many more women come out from the woodwork now that several women have come out. So will more aides come out? We don't know. But it's very unusual to me to see people say, oh yeah, we don't want to focus on this kind of thing because we want to look at the nursing home thing. So I think tomorrow I'm going to be looking at the nursing home thing and seeing what happened. Influencer is sleeping right now. So he is asleep with the cats. I'm by myself in front of my computer, and yeah. Has any woman come out to defend him? No. The other thing too is it's really hard to defend someone like this because you don't know, right? It's like you don't know. They could be nice to you, but you don't know how they are towards other women. I'm sure there could be women coming out saying like, "Oh, Andrew Cuomo has never done this kind of stuff to me," but that doesn't mean that he doesn't do that stuff to other women. So, yeah. So it's gonna be hard to defend him, or like say that these things are false if he's saying it's false, which he isn't. It seems like he's just saying like his behavior. It did happen, but it was misconstrued, or that wasn't his intention to make people feel uncomfortable, which I think is a smart way to go about it. He said he never touched anyone. There's gonna be no text messages saying things like, oh yeah, I want a piece of you. Like, there's none of those kind of text messages. It just sounds like it was, yeah, there's no documentation for this stuff. So, yeah. He grabbed her cheeks and then kissed her face. This one? Yeah, look at that, that double grab. I don't know what brought him to do that. It was just very, very strange. Very, very strange. I don't know, it's like, I don't know anybody who would just like randomly go up to you and just start, like, they don't know you kind of thing. But then again, you know, I don't interact with, like, Italians that are very, you know, warm and friendly like that, so, who knows? Yeah, so I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys aren't up really late like I am. 3 frickin' a.m. I can't believe the stream has lasted so long. 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go and end this stream. Um, you're right, no woman wants the governor walking up to them and grabbing up their... Yeah, I've never come across that, ever. But curious to see how this unfolds. If there is new things, you know, I'll share with you guys. If it is eventful, if it's just like small little things, I won't talk about it. But yeah, I don't think this kind of stuff will happen to Cuomo in the future. I think he realizes that he can get harassment complaints, so he definitely should not be alone with any aides, any female aides, in the event that this kind of stuff happens in the future, for sure. So, yeah. Oh, you know, Gray Fox, do your freaking homework. Come on, do your homework. You gotta do your homework. If you don't do your homework ain't gonna do itself. So, yeah, maybe you know what, maybe I should make shorter streams so I could be like, you know what, so Gray Fox can do their homework. Or, yeah, that might be a pretty good idea. Okay, you guys, I will see ya.